Okay, and welcome to another Ginger Mathematician video where I'm going to go through an ACT math mock paper from 2019. So this is one of the tests they do in the United States. It's a 60 question, 60-minute test, so you have to work very, very quickly. And it's really to assess those mathematical skills that students have gained up to the beginning of grade 12. So it's a very important test to have it all through the year, and I thought I'd go through a mock paper. I'll do the first 15 questions in this video, and if you like it, again, give me a like and let me know in the comments if you want me to do more. Right, let's get started. So this is question number 1. So Marcus's favourite casserole recipe requires 3 eggs and makes 6 servings. Marcus wants to modify the recipe by using 5 eggs and increasing all other ingredients in the recipe proportionally. So that's important. We're going to do it in the same proportion. What's the total number of servings the modified recipe will make? So at the moment, we know that 3 eggs, as you just write this down, gives us 6 servings. And what we want to know is how much then 5 eggs will give us. So I'm going to write it out nice and clearly. Well, there's a couple of ways we can do this. We could work out how many servings is for 1 egg, the so-called unitary method. So what do we do to 3 to get to 1? Well, we divide by 3 and we do the same to both sides. So 1 egg then works for 2 servings, and therefore if 1 egg is for 2 servings, 5 eggs is then for 10 servings because we times by 5. So our answer here is going to be C. That's going to be 10 here. Okay, question 2. The 35-member history club, big history club, is meeting to choose a student government representative. Members decide the representative who will be chosen at random cannot be any of the 3 officers at the club. Okay, let's underline that. And what's the probability that Hiroko, who is a member of the club but not an officer, will be chosen? Well, we have 35 members in total, but it can't be the 3 officers. So if we take away 3 from 35, it's 32. And Hiroko is 1 person out of those 32, so it needs to be answer K here, 1 out of 32. Number 3, for what value of x is the equation 2 to the power of 2x plus 7 equals 2 to the power of 15 true? Well, if I write this out a bit more clearly, well, if they've got the same base, it means the index also needs to be the same. Therefore, from this, and we can kind of think of the base cancelling. That then gives us then a nice straightforward equation. 2x plus 7 is equal to 15. Okay, and then we can do any algebraic method here. The way I generally teach this is I look at the plus 7, kind of annoying. What's the opposite of plus 7? Well, that's minus 7 from both sides. That then gives us 2x on its own, which is what we wanted. 15 minus 7 is equal to 8. And then what's the opposite of timesing by 2? Well, that would be dividing by 2. And that gives us x on its own. And 8 divided by 2 is 4. So the key step here was to realize the base is the same. When you get into more advanced mathematics, it's not always the case. And therefore we can assume that the indices, the powers, the exponents, must be the same as well. So x is equal to 4. So let's give B a circle. Now we've got some function work. So we've got a function of f of x equals 5x squared minus 7 open brackets 4x plus 3. And we want to find the value of f of 3. So to find the value of f of 3, wherever we see an x, we put a 3. So all I'm doing here is copying this out and just replacing the x with a 3. Remember, x is 4 times x. And remember your PEMDAS at this point. So the first thing that we are going to do is the exponents. So 3 squared is equal to 9. Notice I'm just doing this one step at a time. I'll work this out in the brackets. So 4 times 3 is 12. 12 plus 3 is 15. And now let's work at the multiplying here. So 5 times 9 is 45. And now we need to do 15 times 7. So again, if you're not sure how to do this in your head, you can always use written methods as well. That's absolutely fine. So we get 45 minus 105, and that will give us minus 60, which is answer J. You have to work at quite a speed in this kind of exam. I'm going through it a little bit longer than I would do in the exam, but just to go through the explanation as I go. On to question 5. So a wallet contains 5 $5 bills, 7 $10 bills, and 8 $20 bills. And this wallet's found and returned to its owner. That's very nice. The wallet's owner will reward the finder with 1 bill drawn randomly from the wallet. What's the probability the bill drawn will be a $20 bill? Well, we have 8 $20 bills, and let's count how many we have in total. So 5 plus 7 is 12, 12 plus 8 is 20. But notice this answer here is not the same as any of the answers here. And the reason for that is we need to simplify our fractions. So what number goes into both? Well, we're going to divide by 4, top and bottom. 8 divided by 4 is 2. 20 divided by 4 is 5. And notice we do have an answer. We have answer D that fits exactly what we did. Super duper. Right, the ABC Book Club charges a $40 monthly fee plus $2, not pounds, dollars, per book read in that month. The Easy Book Club, however, charges a $35 monthly fee, like a one-off fee, plus $3 per book read in that month. For each club, how many books must be read in 1 month for the total charges from each club to be equal? I like this kind of question. So the ABC Book Club, the model they go by is they start with this fixed fee of 40, and then they add on 2 times the amount of books you take out. So I'm going to let X represent the number of books I take. I'm just going to write that down here. I wouldn't do this in the exam, but just to show what I'm doing. I read, or I take. And notice that it's 40 plus 2x. We want to find when it's equal to the fee for the Easy Book Club, which we can write out as, well, 35 plus, well, 3 lots of x, because each book that we read is going to cost $3. And notice I've now formed an equation that I can solve. So the way I would solve this is remove the x's first. So look at the smallest amount of x. What's the opposite of plus 2x? Well, it's going to be minus 2x on both sides of the equation. Get some nice cancelling. We're left then with 40 equals 35 stays as it is. 3x minus 2x is equal to x. I think at this point here we can see then 35 plus something is 40. X must be equal to 5, which is our answer H here. And question 7. So in parallelogram ABCD below, AC is a diagonal. The measure of ABC is 40 degrees. Yep, we're given this. Measure of ACD, yep, given this is 57 degrees. What's the measure of angle CAD, which is the one with a question mark? So the key thing to realise here, it's a parallelogram. So underline this, parallelogram, which means that this angle here must be the same as this angle here. Therefore, this angle is also 40 degrees. And now we have a triangle. So angles in a triangle add up to 180. So the way we work this angle out is what we do, 57 plus 40, that's equal to 97, and then we need to think 180 angles in a triangle minus that 97, and then we'll get our answer of 83, like so. So I'm using 2 key facts here in this question. The opposite angles here in the parallelogram are equal, and also the angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. Feel free to check the answers. So we are up to question 7 here. And if you're liking the content that you're seeing here, if you like the American papers that I'm going through, then please do like and subscribe. It goes a long way to supporting the channel and lets me know you want me to do more ACT content. Okay, and let's carry on. So question 8, when x is a half, what is the value of 8x minus 3 over x? So I'm going to write this out large so we can see what's going on. And we're just going to replace the x with a half. So this is all I'm doing here, not doing anything else, rather than just replacing the x with a half. Well, 8 times a half, or a half of 8, is equal to 4. We're taking this one step at a time. 4 minus 3 is equal to 1. And then we've got this weird situation of 1 divided by a half. I'll use a cheeky maths trick here. What you can do is take the denominator and put it into the numerator here. And this will just give us the answer of 2 over 1, which is equal to 2. Nice sneaky trick there. And that gives us the answer G. And in standard XY coordinate plane, what's the midpoint of the line segment that has endpoints 3, 8 and 1 minus 4? There is a formula for this. I think I'd recommend to use this. So the formula for a midpoint is x1 plus x2 divided by 2. So essentially we add the x coordinates together and then divide by 2, and then we do the same for the y coordinates. I think this is something I teach at IB as well. So we use this formula too. So let's take the x coordinates. Remember, that's the first number in each here. So we do 3 plus 1 divided by 2. We do the same for the other. So we get 8 minus 4 divided by 2. If we work these out, well, 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 8 minus 4 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So we get our answer of 2, 2, like so. And now we've got, well, there's actually a sinusoidal model of some kind. Fluctuation of water depth at a pier is shown in the figure. One of the following values gives the positive difference in feet between the greatest water depth and the least water depth. What value is it? Well, notice the maximum, that's what the word I'd use here, is at 12. And if we read off the minimum, you'll see that this is at 6. So what it's asking for here is the difference between the greatest water depth and the least water depth. So the difference between 12 and 6, and that's just going to be equal to 6. So that's a nice straightforward question that you can do hopefully at home in 60 seconds. Question 11. And then we're on to the slope of the line through minus 2, 1 and 2, minus 5 in the standard XY coordinate plane. Again, there is another formula that you can use here. So the slope, also known as the gradient, is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Again, check out the video I did on this for my year 8, exactly on this topic. So very useful. Now, the way to make sure you don't get confused here is to label your coordinates. So this is going to be my x1, that's going to be my x2, this will be my y1, this is my y2. So I know which number's which. So let's put it in nice and carefully. So y2 is minus 5, y1 is 1, x2 is 2, and this is where to be careful because x1 is minus 2. So you get this minus minus effect. Minus 5 minus 1 is minus 6. 2 minus minus 2, or 2 negatives make a positive, so 2 plus 2 is 4. And if we simplify this, we get minus 3 over 2, which is our answer here for D. I like these kind of questions like question 12, yeah? They get you thinking a little bit more than just our basic operation. So in Cherokee County, the fine for speeding is $17 for each mile per hour the driver is travelling over the posted speed limit. In Cherokee County, Kirk was fined $221, sounds like Captain Kirk, for speeding on the road with a posted speed limit of 30 miles per hour. Okay, Kirk was fined for travelling at what speed in miles per hour? So the first thing we need to do here is we've got some multiple of 17, because every mile you go above the speed limit, you get fined an extra multiple of 17, and that gives us 221. So we need to do the calculation of 221 divided by 17 to work out how many miles over the speed limit Kirk was. Now the way I would do this is using long division. So I'm going to do it the way that we do in the United States. So 17 and 2 doesn't go. 17 into 22 goes once. We write the 17 underneath. 22 minus 17 is equal to 5. We bring down the 1. And in order for this to make sense, this needs to be a whole number. So how many 17s go into 51? Well, you can always write out your times table in the exam. But yeah, it's going to be 3 times here. 17 times 3 is 51. And notice there's no remainder, which is good. There shouldn't be. So we then know that Kirk was travelling 13 miles per hour over the speed limit. The speed limit was 30, so the answer isn't 30 or 13, but we need to add the 13 to 30 to work out how many miles per hour over the speed limit Kirk was, which then gives us 43, like so. This one's an interesting question here. So the sum of the solutions of the two equations below. So let's solve them both in turn. Well, if 8x is equal to 12, 12 then, if we divide by 8 on both sides. Now, I know some of you love decimals, which is fine as well. But I think we all agree here that this will be equal to 3 over 2. If you put 1.5, that's fine as well. But notice these answers are in fractions. Let's now work out y. So we've got 2y plus 10 is equal to 22. And we just do this in the normal way. So we want to get rid of the 10. What's the opposite of plus 10? Minus 10. Do feel free to pause the video if I'm going a little bit on the fast side. It's absolutely fine. So we get 2y on its own. 22 minus 10 is equal to 12. And if 2 times something is equal to 12, our y is going to be 6. But notice in the question, we want to find the sum of the two answers, the sum of the solutions. So we need to add 6 and 1.5 together, and that will then give us 7.5 or 7.5, which is our answer B. Okay, and on to question 14. This is a little bit on the tricky side. So the average of 5 distinct scores has the same value as the median of the 5 scores. So when they say the average here, they mean the mean average. So when you add them up and divide them by how many there are, the sum of the 5 scores is 420. What is the sum of the 4 scores that are not the median? So it feels like here we don't have enough information, but we do actually work out what the median is. The median is equal to the average. And the average can be worked out because we're given the sum of the scores, which is 420, and we know how many numbers there are. So we divide it by 5, and this will give us the answer of 84. If you're wondering how I did that quickly, I divided by 10, which gives us 42, and then times by 2 to give us 84. Nice little trick. So this is our median score, the one in the middle, and we want the sum of the 4 scores not including the median. So we need to take our 420, which is all the 5 scores added together, and then minus the 84, minus that median figure, and that will then give us the answer of 336. Please ignore my phone. Right, so that gives us the answer here of H. Google's always telling me what to do. Right, question 15. So what's the value of the expression below? So these lines here represent absolute value. So let me just do a quick note over here. So if I do the absolute value of minus 4, also known as the modulus, all you need to do is turn it positive. So that's all it means here. But we need to do this in a strict order. So the first things we need to do is do the ones inside first, and then we find the absolute value afterwards. What does this mean? So let's go through this. Let's do minus 8 plus 4. Well, that's equal to minus 4. And I'll leave the absolute value signs. 3 minus 9 is equal to minus 6. Notice I'm leaving all the modulus signs in, the absolute value signs. The absolute value of minus 4 is equal to 4. The absolute value of minus 6 is equal to 6. Oh, that was confusing. And then we work out 4 minus 6 is equal to minus 2. But the absolute value of minus 2 is equal to 2. So we get our answer here of D. And which of the following expressions is equivalent to x to the power of 2/3? This is something many of my students struggle with, so let me write this out again bigger so we can see what's going on. The number at the bottom always indicates the root, or the kind of root that's going on, and this always represents the exponent or power. So in this case, we're going to have a cube root because we have a 3. And then with that answer, we are then going to square it. Okay, so I'm going to write it this way. I'm not sure if it's the same as the mark scheme. No, not entirely. So let's have a look here. It's going to be this one at the bottom. Where are we? It's going to be one at the bottom. So what they've done here is they've just written the squared inside rather than outside, which is absolutely fine. So that's equivalent, so we're going to have the question here and the answer of K. Super duper. So you can check your answers up to question 16, like so. And you know what? We're going to continue on and do the last 4 questions. Why not? So, in the standard xy coordinate plane, what is the slope of the line given by the equation? So, we need to write it in this form that I'm sure you're used to in school. Y equals mx plus b. So, we need to find what the m is here. So, the way we do that is make y the subject. So, let's go through the procedure here. Plus 5. So the first thing I would do is flip the equation, which you're allowed to do because there's an equal sign here. And then we want to get y on its own, kind of like solving. So we need to get rid of the 5 first. So what's the opposite of plus 5? Minus 5 on both sides. That gives us 7y is equal to 4x minus 5. And then what's the opposite of timesing by 7? Well, that's dividing by 7 on both sides. And notice the dividing by 7 applies to both of these. So we get 4 over 7x minus 5 over 7. And again, we wanted that gradient here, the fraction in front of the x, so our answer is going to be 4 over 7. Question 18. So for which of the following conditions will the sum of the integers m and n always be an odd number? So the way I tend to approach these questions is try some numbers and see if it fits. So if we try f, for example, so m is an odd integer, well, I can do 3, that's an odd integer, and if I add that to, say, another odd integer, 7, that's equal to 10, which is even, so that can't be true. N is an odd integer, can't be true for the same reason, we just flip it across. M and n are both odd integers, well, we just did an example of that, so that can't be true. M and n are both even integers, so say we did 4 and 8, that's equal to 12, which is also even, so that can't be true. So this one must be true by elimination, but let's just go through it. M is an odd integer, n is an even integer. Let's try that. So you get 3 plus 2, for example, that's equal to 5. Yeah, that does definitely work. And question 19, the length of the 2 legs of a right-angled triangle, ABC, given in inches. The midpoint of AB is how many inches from A? So if I draw in AB, this is our midpoint here. We want to work out this distance here from A to M. On the surface, this looks like a Pythagoras question and looks quite tricky on the surface because if we use Pythagoras to solve this, let me get my pen, you need to do 24 squared, you need to do 32 squared, work out those answers, add them, and then square root at the end. Okay, that's a standard procedure. Again, you only got 1 minute to do this question, so there should be a quicker method, and there is. Let me give you a Pythagorean triple that you should be aware of. So if this is 6 and 8, you should remember this is a 6, 8, 10 triangle. This is one to remember. So if this is 6 and 8, then this has to be 10. What's less commonly understood is that you can actually multiply all the sides by a constant and it's absolutely fine. So if I multiply all of these by 4, 6 times 4 is equal to 24, 8 times 4 is equal to 32, and 10 times 4 is equal to 40. So I can actually work this out really quickly by spotting those patterns. So you've got 24, 32, and this has to be 40. Of course, we want the distance of the midpoint is how many inches from A. Well, that distance there has to be 20. Half of 40 is equal to 20. I noticed with these questions, they get you to do a process and then a little bit of a change at the end, which is certainly interesting to see from a British point of view. And question 20, in DEF, the length of DE is root 30 inches, length of EF is 3 inches. If it can be determined, what is the length in inches of DF? Now, the way about going these questions is to draw a diagram. Now, we're not told it's a right angle triangle, so we can't assume that. So I'm going to draw a scalene triangle, kind of a random triangle. Again, it's not going to be to scale, but I'm just going to label this up DEF in some way. The length of DE is root 30, so this has to be root 30. The length of EF is 3. Okay, definitely not to scope. If it can be determined, what is the length in inches of DF? So we're lacking information here. If this was a right angle, we could use Pythagoras, but we are lacking information. If you want to use the sine rule or cosine rule, for example, you need 3 pieces of information. And notice here, we've only got 2. If we had an angle here, for example, then we could use the cosine rule. If we had another side, we could find obviously another angle. So yeah, we simply don't have enough information. And the thing that gives this away is we have 2 pieces of information, and for a non-right angle triangle, you need 3. Okay, so you can go through the answers, question 17, 18, 19, and 20, and go through it at your leisure. Check what I've done in this video. Okay, again, ignore my phone. So, hope you enjoyed that video. If you like the content, if you like me going through the ACT papers, we've got some exams coming in next month or so, then please do let me know. Bye-bye for now.